Yo, what's good, everyone? It's your boys, Jimmy, Daz, and Deffer. Right, lads?
Hi
Yeah, we're
guys.
all right.
Good, man. Good. So today is part two of our journey back through the 1990s. We'll be discussing a whole bunch, like a fucking whole bunch as well, of great records from 1993 to 1995. Thanks for everyone who's checked out episode one, by the way. It's been really
Mm,
cool, isn't it? Getting like everyone's sort of uh favorite albums and discussions the things that they remember from those albums back when they dropped.
Seeing a lot of topsters on the end of the week, like the weekend, with loads of
Yeah,
90s stuff in it, which is pretty cool.
It's
yeah, mate.
always it's always good going back in on the old classics
Yeah.
Oh,
and
it
seeing
is.
everyone else's picks because there might be some on there you're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that came out that time.
Well, Def, funny you should say that because I've added an album into 1995 today. That was a massive favourite of yours back in school. Um,
Uh-huh.
that I,
I
he's
know where
got
it is, mate. I
he's
know where
got
it
one
is.
as well. um, so
Easily done.
again, there will be a playlist with a song from each album in the episode description below. This episode is absolutely stacked, lads. So let's crack straight into 1993 then. Jurassic Park was the biggest film of the year.
Not
Oh, what a time
surprised.
that
Not
was.
surprised.
Nah, man. Did you go to the cinema to see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think everyone did.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
I think
everyone in the world
everyone
did.
did.
Mate, it was fucking bananas, wasn't it? Trading cards, the lot.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it.
Phenomenon, mate, that film, wasn't it?
Mm,
Unbelievable. Whitney Houston's Bodyguard soundtrack was the best-selling record of the year. I
fair.
could, that's a weird one though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's probably
It's
because
a
it had
big
like
film.
one
It was a
song.
very big. It was
Yeah,
a, yeah, that it was that one
people bought
song.
it for that
Yeah,
one song, didn't they?
yeah,
The legends who are going to come up again on this show very soon, Beavis and Butthead, aired for the first time. And basically, me and Deffa based our whole personalities at school on those two.
yes, we did, mate.
Wu-Tang Clan released Enter the Chamber,
Oh,
all all-time hip hop classic, and FIFA International Soccer released. That was the first one, wasn't it?
yes, yeah,
I
1993.
know it's
Oh
mental.
my
Man. I can't believe the first
God,
FIFA game is over 30 years old.
fucking hell, man,
That's
that's
bonkers, isn't it?
crazy. That's crazy, mate.
Right then, we'll crack into the albums. We'll start again with death metal. Morbid Angel released Covenant, their third album. They're definitely their breakthrough album. And it was
Yeah.
because of the aforementioned Beavis and Butthead,
Mm,
the God of Emptiness music video appeared on there. That's where I first ever heard Morbid Angel.
yeah,
Was on Beavis and Butthead. There's quite a lot of first bands discovered through that show.
yeah, and especially that sort of track. I mean, that era. I mean, we were what 13 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
that I remember it, and I remember thinking, I don't know what this is. I don't know why Beavis and Butthead are listening to it, but I quite like it.
Yeah, me too. I was like, should I
Yeah, it
like
was
this?
like, yeah, should I? Yeah, maybe I'll turn the volume down a bit and just, but I
Yeah.
secretly enjoy it.
The video to that's the video to that's iconic, isn't it?
Oh,
God
mate,
of Emptiness.
yes,
I think it's my favorite Morbid Angel album.
Yeah, I think it is for me as well.
it's right up there. I think it's a close.
It is close. Sometimes Altars of Madness takes it. Sometimes Blessed Are the Sick take it as well. Like it's
It's
just well
any of
hard.
the
It's hard.
four,
It's hard.
any of the first four.
But mainly Covenant's my first pick.
Yeah, mine
Nine
too.
times out of ten, honestly. Like it. But I mean, look, it was the third best-selling death metal album in the United States up until 2003. With after Cannibal Corpse and Deicide.
Yeah,
So,
Mate, there you go.
that's fucking huge, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. There you
Huge.
go. Um, we're gonna have to do a Morbid Angel top tracks, aren't we?
Yeah,
God,
we will.
yes.
Yeah, we will.
Including Elude. Fucking hell, that's gonna be hard work.
Oh God,
Carcass released Heartwork. We spoke about necroticism on the last one. If you want to hear us chatting about Heartwork a lot more, go and listen to the episode of True Cult Pop we were on recently with our buddy Stephen Gaz because we chatted about Heartwork quite in depth, didn't we?
Yeah,
we
we
did.
did, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
So Columbia
that's all good.
Records, band's only major label release, and it's one of the all time death metal classics.
Hmm.
And talking of all-time death metal classics, an album I hadn't really listened to up until that long ago, Cynic released Focus. Their debut album came out on Roadrunner. Um, again, released by Scott, produced by Scott Burns. If you can get a hold of that Scott Burns book, it's it's a
It's the
must read.
Bible, mate. It's the holy but unholy Bible for nerds like us,
Yeah.
and the listeners and stuff. But it's definitely worth the money.
Have you boys ever gone in on Cynic Focus?
No, mate, I haven't.
I went in on this for one of my Death Virgin records.
Yeah,
It's
what do you
I
unbelievable,
think
was
isn't
then?
it?
well impressed with it, mate.
Yeah.
It's basically a lot of the stuff now, like the proggy death metal stuff, you can hear this sort of sound. It's very, very familiar.
Yeah,
And it's
you
Yeah,
could.
very,
yeah, they're not really, they are pretty obscure, I would say, like if, but not like I mean, I've rarely see like Cynic mentioned in,
it's Cynic,
corners of the internet.
Cynic done a gig. Was it last year, beginning of the year? They done it with someone else, and I know that was very, very popular. I
Do
think
you
it might
know?
have been.
Do you know what I mean, mate? Like, or
Yeah, I
am
know.
I just not? Maybe it's just me.
In technical death metal world, they are considered like
I think they're.
kings. Them are like they're considered like the kings. Like
Yeah,
they Focus is a groundbreaking record, mate. You don't get a lot of technic. What came after, you don't get without this record. It's real like well ahead of its time in 1993. That's for sure.
Well, when I did Atheist, and that was like blew my nut
Oh,
because
but
yeah, it
this
can
will
be
do
traced all the way back to Atheist, can't it? Like all that sort of stuff.
this will do the same then, mate.
And
I,
that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, absolutely. Suffocation released Breeding the Spawn.
We
This is a funny one because I know you picked this, Steph. But
it's one that never really. It's always usually the first two, isn't it, that get.
this is the sec. Is this the second album?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right.
sorry, this and Pierced,
Yeah, yeah,
Effigy and Pierced get
yeah.
the sort of
It's been
accolades. This one usually gets forgotten about, but I think it's great. I think
Well,
it's
it either
underrated.
gets forgotten about or it gets shat on
it's
because of the
because it sounds
production.
like shit.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it actually
Yeah,
doesn't. It actually,
Oh, mate,
like, it's weird.
compared to album one and three,
Yeah,
it's
well,
noticeably bad. Like
yeah,
because Roadrunner stopped using Scott Burns or
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
allow them to use Burns on this record for financial reasons.
Okay.
And funnily enough, they actually went on to apologize for the production on this record and then allowed them to use Scott Burns for From Pierce from Within.
Well,
yeah.
Pierce from Within is absolutely unbelievable, as
It
we all
is,
know.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
look, I mean,
The songs on here are great.
yeah, yeah. I was going to say, like, it definitely deserves a remaster.
Oh, 100%.
Um,
I think it would need I'd love to see them do what Cavalera have done
Yeah.
recently and just
Oh, just do
re-record
it
this with
again.
their new lineup.
and
Yeah.
you can kind of get um, like I just found that like I kept listening to it, and like you kind of just get used to the production
Yeah,
after a while. It's weird, isn't it? Like you kind of
yeah,
get nose blind to it, and it's
yeah,
just like, oh,
yeah,
this is actually fine. It's
yeah.
a really weird one, but yeah, if you do listen to it after listening to Effigy and Pierce from Within, it is
Yeah, if you
pretty
did like a
fucking
discog run, you'd
different.
be like, "Well, this sounds sick. Well, this don't sound great," and then this sounds sick again. So,
But yeah, it's a weird up and down, but I still rate it, man.
Me too, mate. Fucking the last track on there, I think I can't remember what it's called now. Was it Ornaments of Discrepancy or something? I can't
Yeah.
remember the fucking song, but yeah, wicked. One of my favourites from theirs.
and talking of albums that are favorites from certain bands, that another album that sort of it's a talking point. This one, Entombed released Wolverine Blues, which was their third album. It's my favorite Entombed album, and this was kind of the start of Death and Roll, really, wasn't it?
Mm.
I don't really think that tag had been used prior to this record, but I first heard Entombed on the Earache earplug sampler that came out sort of mid 90's, and Wolverine
Same.
Blues and Out of Hand were on there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this one's always held a special place for me. It like I said, it's definitely my favorite Entombed record.
Yeah, I mean, I see nothing really but love for this. I haven't seen anybody like dunking on it or anything.
It wasn't particularly well received at the time, I don't think.
Well, I can imagine it wasn't. You could just tell that it
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah,
But like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
weird. Like,
yeah.
it's almost like it is weird because it's almost like Wolverine Blues almost kind of gets a weird pass, like because it is quite thoroughly adored, I think, nowadays. But most the stuff that I see about it is pretty.
Yeah, it's because it's fucking wicked, mate. It's because
Yeah,
the songs are wicked. You just know, didn't sound like clandestine or Left Hand Path. So
yeah.
instantly, some people are going to be like, no.
But you can't do a second Left Hand Path, especially after it's your debut as well, innit? I mean, fucking, I've already perfected it, mate.
How many times have we said this, Daz?
Yeah,
That's the
it's already
argument we
done.
have all the time, isn't it? For
Mm.
bands who change their sound and stuff, and it always comes after a masterpiece.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, it's just weird, mate. Because like some people, some bands won't uh detract from their original sort of blueprint, and then they kind of never get very good reviews, if you know what I mean. Because they're just
Yeah,
like, oh, it's the same thing. Like it's the
you
same
have to
thing.
be
Like
really good at your template, like Motorhead and Hatebreed and bands like
yeah,
there's a couple of top of my head I can think of who doesn't really deviate, but
Obituary, they're one
yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah.
But
Or well, until there's an album coming up later on, which will
Terror,
yeah, Terror.
yeah,
But that's what I mean.
that kind of
If
stuff.
yeah, if
Yeah,
you're really good at it,
yeah, you kind of okay, I guess. But
yeah. Um, Edge of Sanity released the Spectral Sorrows, their third album, progressive death metal. So this is like we were saying in the last episode, death metal started already. Now there's so many little branches of death metal already in 1993. This is the Dan Swano's band, a band I fucking have rinsed their back catalogue over the last few months. They're absolutely brilliant band. Two albums. Now these two albums are not albums I'm overly familiar with, right? But they're really interesting here. Because in the last one, we said, when do you think sort of death metal and doom started colliding? Um, and also when did like death metal and black metal start
Mm.
colliding? Now I think it might have been on these two. So Catatonia released Dance of December Souls, which was their debut record, produced by Dan Swano, and Necrophobic released The Nocturnal Silence, which was their debut as well. And I know that's a big influence on the new Witch Vomit album.
Yeah.
They
oh
like
wow, cool.
they mentioned that album specifically, but
Mm.
these were two of the earliest examples I could see where death metal starting to blend with other genres.
Yeah. Definitely, especially with the Catatonia album.
Yeah, yeah.
That sort of sound. I sort of first got on set when we done the chat with Death Doom Metalhead.
Oh, Liam, I made
Yeah, and
Liam.
I
Yeah,
think it was Brave Murder Day when he was recommending, but he was also mentioning this album. Sort of the first two was
yeah,
sort of the holy grail for him, and they're
yes.
the two that I've done. And yeah, it's you can hear that black metal sort of presence in there. It's still very heavy, but there's the element of dark.
I
Just
think yeah, Catatonia and the early Paradise Lost. I think they were the first that started combining death
Death
metal
and
and
Doom.
doom, wasn't
Yeah,
it? So
100%, mate.
yeah, Necrophobic as well. Get on that. If you've not done that album, man, get on that.
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's fucking
It's
wicked.
wicked.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an album that was I think it was in the when Witch Vomit when we got the promo for that, it was in the PR blog, wasn't it? This
Yeah,
album was specifically mentioned as being a big influence. So yeah, interesting to see that early blending of genres here. So an album that didn't blend any genres was Dark Throne under a funeral moon, their third album. I was reading about it saying that their mission when writing this was to create a pure black metal album.
oh, blimey, did they do that?
Didn't
Mm.
they just do that there? Because obviously after A Blaze in the Northern Sky came out, they like oh done a death metal album, not interested in that. We want a new sound. Found that new sound, and then
There was still
this
mood.
must have been like the we want to perfect that sound now.
Yes, and I think that's what a lot of people, if you talk to them about that sort of Holy Trinity side, Under a Funeral Moon is the one that sticks out more. It's the one that just seems perfection.
Yeah,
It sounds bigger, there's more song. It's you can hear there's something more than what was on the previous album on
yeah.
it.
Do you think after they did the next one, then Def, that they were almost like, okay, well we've now done that. So now, because then after that, they started to incorporate all kinds of different.
They went different. I think so. I think I would have loved to have known if they originally had this written as a trilogy,
Yeah, it seems. Yeah,
or if it was just going to be one and then it was well received because it was completely different. And then they did this album. I don't know. I would have liked to have thought they wrote it as a trilogy,
yeah,
and they were
something.
going to Dark Throne don't take no orders, man. They'll
Yeah,
do
they
what
do.
even if the last album didn't do well, Blaze didn't do well, they were still going to do this album. They're still going to do Transylvanian Hunger. It wasn't going to stop there. So, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting, mate.
it's black metal heritage, man. Those three
Mm.
albums, man, will go down.
Yeah,
Everyone's got a favorite out the three. You always, it's one doesn't stand out massively from the other because each of those albums has something different.
yeah, absolutely. A couple more classics then that came out in the black metal world. Immortal dropped Pure Holocaust.
Ooh.
Their second album, the first one with Abath on drums. Um, so this was like their debut album's good, but I think this is the start of like a classic run of albums, isn't it?
100%, 100%.
What
It,
came after this is
this album's wicked though, and it's Sun No
oh
Longer Rises, Frozen
yeah,
by Ice Winds. Demon
it's
has just fucking a machine, mate. Don't know how he's
Absolute
writing these
machine.
riffs when he's so cold, mate. Keep him warm.
yeah,
That's how he stops himself from
warming
freezing.
his
Just like
hands
those
up on the
tremolo
riff.
riffs, mate. Just like,
Yeah, this is a brilliant album. This
yeah, I love
like
it.
I think At the Heart of Winter would probably be my favorite, but
Same.
there isn't much in
Yeah,
terms
so I
of
always
quality.
go for these two, to be fair. And then Sons of Northern Darkness
Yeah.
for me.
Battles in the North.
There's too many.
Yeah,
Too many.
Mate, their discography is ridiculous.
it is ridiculous. Dissection released the Somber Lane, which was their debut album. So again, interesting black metal, but with a definite hint of melodic death metal
Yeah.
Yeah.
in this record. I really love the King Diamond S cover as well on this.
It's sick, man.
It's proper like King Diamond worship, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
And then we get into the more sort of mainstream side of metal. Oh my God. Like
Come
these
on,
Yeah,
mate.
next three,
it's popping off.
Daz, honestly. Sepultura, Chaos AD, fifth
Oh,
album. First
mate.
time recording as a four piece because Paolo Jr. finally like, I can do this, lads. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking do this. Go on, Paolo, you can do it, son. And he did.
Yeah.
Um, just an all-time classic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I love this album.
Yeah,
I guess it probably, again, wasn't looked at in a favorable light at the time, coming off of the back of a rise. But I mean, look, they said themselves that they were tired of playing that stuff and they kind of just wanted to push the envelope because they
yeah,
were concerned about musically stagnating. And then they just thought, well, I'll tell you what, I'll write a fucking all-time banger in Refuse Resist.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's an absolute working class anthem, mate.
Imagine that's right. They were like, right, we've done a rise, we've done Beneath the Remains. Let's try something different. And then they knock out Refuse, Resist, and Territory and Propaganda and
Yeah,
Nomad, and they're like, I think we might be onto something here, lads.
yeah, yeah. Slave
Like,
New World. Biotech is Godzilla is just basically a hardcore song.
yeah, it is a
I
Yeah.
mean,
hardcore
this
song.
album is
That's the fast.
amazing.
That's the
Yeah.
fastest song ever, man.
It's the
By
fuck
Texas
it. This is
Godzilla.
amazing. What an amazing fucking record. I don't
Uh
understand why
And
people like hate
it's
this shit.
sort of there's backdrops to roots in this.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
Yeah.
starting to hear those tribal drums, especially in KOS. There's those tribal drums coming in. There's those, the tribal atmosphere. It's leading up to what would become Roots 3 years later. So
it
there's all
was.
hints in there. But Arise was doing that slowly as well. There was little bit. I mean, we've spoken about that before on previous episodes.
Yeah,
Beneath the Remains was straight thrash. Arise was thrash, technical, but it had those hints, which was leading to Chaos AD.
yeah.
You know, what a
I,
band, man.
I'm not like the biggest fan of cover versions on full albums, but their version of The Hunt by New Model
Oh,
Army
mate,
is
fucking wicked,
absolutely
mate.
brilliant. This was definitely my first introduction to Sepultura. Chaos
Yeah,
AD is the first album I remember hearing in school.
Yeah.
yeah. I think
KSAD
refuse. I
was
think
mine as
Refuse
well.
Resist was the main anthem, wasn't it, at the time
Yeah.
when that was out? Yeah.
We even did a cover of Refuse Resist in the band I was in.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wicked, mate.
Yeah, we did.
You've
Yeah.
been unearthing all this Daz heritage recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Well,
that turns up, mate.
oh yeah, yeah.
Covering
That's true.
Sepultura,
Yeah,
chasing
yeah.
ghosts. What
Yeah,
else
oh
can you
yeah,
do,
mate.
mate? Eh?
Fucking
Fucking
what?
hell.
I was doing it all back then, mate.
um, Life of Agony released River Runs Red, their
Oh, blimey.
classic debut album, fusing metal, New York hardcore, Alice in Chains style riffs, some of those brutally real lyrics you'll
Mate,
ever hear.
it
This is a
hit
classic,
this
isn't it?
it fucking hits home, man.
Yeah.
Iconic, mate. Just the whole sound of it, the whole yeah,
And
just top
Def,
class.
we say this a bit about a few bands. Deftones Adrenaline. There's an album coming up later as well. A one-off album in their discography. They never sound like this again, do they?
No, they didn't.
They
And
went through a whole load of different
I think
sounds
because
and
they
styles
I
and
think it's sort of because they were going through changes
yeah,
in their lives, and I think those albums started reflecting that.
absolutely, mate.
So I
Yeah,
think this was like
100%.
raw at the beginning, and then afterwards it got more emotional, but there was
Yeah,
still that intent, that hunger.
yeah.
But yeah, but yeah,
Nothing sounds like this. There's no heavier guitar tone
no.
than the one
Oh
on this record.
Jesus Christ,
It
mate, no
is like
way.
sledgehammer heavy.
Yes,
Um, Paradise Lost released their classic fourth album, Icon. Again, definitely starting to move away now from that um death doomy sound to a more like metal approach. Like
yes.
I think 1993, you could tell they'd been listening to the Black Album by like the
We
time
meant,
Icon and Draconian Times
mate,
comes out.
mate. We mentioned Black Album again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
it just shows how fucking important it was, man.
yeah. But
But yeah,
Icon is this is my second favorite Paradise Lost after Draconian.
same, same. Icon has got that familiar sound that we're used to. I mean, to have a track Ember's Fire kick
Oh,
off the album, mate. I mean, get out of here, man.
there's so many classics on this record, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like it's
True
just an
Belief, True Belief.
Widow.
Oh God, mate.
What a record! What an
Yeah.
absolutely
Unreal,
unbelievable
mate.
record. Typo Negative released their third album, Bloody Kisses, the
God,
first
mate.
Roadrunner album to be certified gold.
Jesus Christ,
Which,
mate.
That's massive, isn't it?
well, when you consider how nuts this album is, Daz, that is absolutely astonishing.
Mm.
Um, I mean, there's two absolute mega hits on here, Christian Woman and Black Number One,
Yeah.
which are all-time classics. The album is very hit and miss for me. Like it's
It's it
silly in places. There's parts of it. There's songs on it I just straight up don't like.
Yeah, it's very long as well. It's a very you need to commit quite I think it's about 74 minutes. It's very long.
It's a funny old album, but when it hits, man,
Yeah, it fucking hits,
it
man.
hits hard. But yeah, just a complete one-off band. Like again, nobody sounded like them. And you get so many bands through the 90's that nobody else sounded like. Like
Yeah.
No one else had a dong like that either.
Daz Daz with his traditional we talk about typo negative, he brings up Pete
Mention Pete
Steele's
Steele's
dong.
dong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
it's gonna
time we
happen.
mention the band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every time.
It's a legal requirement at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
fuck it.
yeah. He'd be
Registered
proud, mate.
weapon, mate.
He'd be proud.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah, we all
We
are.
all are. Yeah.
And Def, we spoke about Megadeth and Testament and some of them classic thrash bands going through changes. Anthrax released The Sound of White Noise. So by this point, John Bush had replaced Joey Belladonna. So this is a much more like groove metal with a bit of alternative metal in here.
I like this era,
It's a
Anthrax.
great album, this
Bush
mate.
sounds fucking great as well,
He
innit? I
really
know
does.
if you asked everyone, I think everyone would pick Bush as their favorite
He
vocalist.
is a
Easily.
great vocalist, mate.
Fucking great.
Um, there's a song on here only, which
Ah, that's the one. Yeah,
yeah, James Hetfield once described that as the perfect song,
yeah.
and like it
It's
is,
a mega hit, mate.
yeah, that chorus is unbelievable.
Oh God, mate.
Um, a strange one, Merciful Fate released In the Shadows, their third album, the first since their 1992 reunion. It's funny because you wouldn't see that at this stage in the 90's now would there be a place for Merciful Fate? Do you know what I mean? They're like a very stereo like an 80's band, aren't they?
Yeah,
You would class them up.
and they kept sounding 80s. I think as they
Yeah, they
went on,
didn't
but then
change
they
it.
released fucking loads in the 90s,
Yeah,
didn't
they
they,
did,
as well?
mate. Yeah, I was
They had a mega run in the 90s.
yeah. In the Shadows is a really good album as well.
I had a flick through it. It's one that I'd never heard, but obviously I sort of had a flick through it, and it sounds Merciful Fate, which is great,
Yeah,
and
it's
it sounded really really good. But Egypt, the opening track was fucking great as
oh,
well.
Egypt's a banger, mate. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so then into like the slightly more alternative side of things now, the Wild Hearts
Oh God, mate, this brings me
released
back to
their
school, mate.
yeah classic debut album versus the Wild Hearts. This was Kerrang's album of the year, 1993.
God,
Fully deserved death. It's just one of the best rock albums of all time, isn't it?
mate, it's yeah. Wild Hearts was in the night, mate. Wild Hearts were a fucking amazing band, underrated as well, man.
Ah, hugely.
They could have been so much more
They
bigger,
should have
man.
been. Mate, they were a band just full of internal fighting all the time, weren't they? And
Yes,
it
yes,
just held them back. But this is rock. There's punk in here. There's fucking massive metal riffs in
mate,
here.
proper fucking riffs, man.
And just some of the best choruses you'll
Yeah.
hear anywhere. Yeah, an absolute classic. Nirvana released their third and final studio album In Utero. I was looking at this the other day. So this has gone 5 times platinum, right? Which for an album that Kurt Cobain wrote as a backlash to like Nevermind, and produced this like much more angular, weirder, not a typical. It's not a typical rock album. For it to still go 5 times platinum,
And this is the image you see in all the t-shirts.
yes,
That album
it's
cover you see in every high street shop on every t-shirt.
it's still iconic.
It's still
He
iconic,
didn't
mate.
want to write another album that like, but he just his
It,
genius was that these songs were just too fucking good, weren't they?
this is my favorite Nirvana album, In
Mate,
Utero.
a lot of people will say that.
It's my favorite
It's mad to think, isn't it? Like, if he'd wanted to, he could have written another 10 Nevermind style bangers in his sleep, couldn't he? He could have
easily.
easily pumped out another album,
Easily.
but he didn't want to. And instead, he produced another masterpiece, which
Yeah.
is fucking mental. And something that I thought was really interesting. Like every label at this point was searching for that next Nevermind, that next Nirvana.
Mm.
The Melvins released Houdini and Tad released Inhaler. Both of them were on major labels. So these labels were just like signing anyone and everything in a hope that they would land the next fucking gold mine. Like, have you ever heard Tad Inhaler, Dev?
I've heard of it. You know what? I can't remember. It does. It sounded very familiar
It's
when I
wicked.
look.
It's wicked, mate.
I think I have done it. Like Melvin's Houdini. It's one of those covers you see it. You think, oh yeah, I've
Yeah, I
seen
know.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it was everywhere back
It
then.
was
But
everywhere. Yeah.
two mad albums that got signed to major labels, like it would never happen again. Like
No
now,
way. No way.
um, the Smashing Pumpkins released Siamese Dream, their second album.
Fucking brilliant album.
Oh, it's an incredible album, this man. This is 4 times platinum selling.
Not surprised.
If you read the backstory to this, like it's an absolute miracle that this album got made at all. Like it's honestly like all two of them were in a relationship and split up before this album. One of them was off his bonds on whatever drugs he was off his bonds on. Billy Corgan was going through some sort of like mental breakdown. How the fuck they wrote, how the fuck the four of them produced an album like this? I don't know.
Maybe that's the ingredient.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Did all this sort of alternative stuff like pass you by, Daz, being a
Yeah,
bit
pretty
younger than us?
much. Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah, I've never gone in on the Wild Hearts or Merciful Fate or really any Anthrax. I only used to hear Bring the Noise from
Mm.
Anthrax. And did they do Safe Home?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I heard
Safe Home was
that.
John Bush. Yeah,
Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins, I've heard like some stuff, obviously, like is it Tonight Tonight
It
and
might have
some of
been
the
late, the later,
later
yeah,
ones.
the album after,
Melancholy.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I missed a lot of this kind of stuff. Like, I
yeah.
mean,
You would have
even
done, yeah,
Cypress Hill Black Sunday wasn't the album I got into them on. It was Skull and Bones.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting, mate. Like I reckon at some point, whenever it is, like you'll get into these, like because they're just undeniably brilliant records, like the Wild Hearts and the Smashing Pumpkins and that. Like it's just so good. Um, yeah, Cypress Hill released Black Sunday, their second album. This was like an interesting one because they were always sort of accepted by the metal crowd,
Yeah,
Cypress Hill, weren't they?
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
It's because they were just darker and heavier, weren't they, than
It
most?
weren't it wasn't your typical hip hop, wasn't it?
Mm,
It had something else. It had a different flavor to it.
yeah, absolutely. And sound, we've got a soundtrack in here. So the Judgment Night original soundtrack.
Oh,
The film's dog
mate.
shit,
Well, I was going to say, like, I've never heard of this film.
but you've heard
It
of
was
the
one
soundtrack.
I've not heard the soundtrack.
oh
What?
my
Yeah,
God.
I don't know what Judgment Night is, brother.
Oh my
Daz,
goodness
this has
me.
got so the soundtrack teamed up metal bands with hip hop artists.
Oh
So you've
shit.
got, mate, you need to Google this.
No
Fucking, you need to
way, dude.
Spotify this. It's
Mate,
Mate,
so Biohazard and Onyx did the title track.
what?
You've got Helmet and House of Pain. Was it Pearl
Ice
Jam and Cypress Hill?
yeah, Ice T and Slayer.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Living Color and Run DMC,
It
Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam, Therapy and Fatal,
Faith
mate.
No More, the Booyah Tribe. It's
Yeah,
this soundtrack is absolutely fucking
it's one of a
unbelievable.
kind because they never did a soundtrack like this,
Do you remember
even now.
Spawn? Do you remember Spawn teamed
Yeah,
up metal bands with like dance, like drum and bass and breakbeat and stuff years later?
yeah.
Yeah, but Judgment Night was the
We are we talking about Spawn the
The
film?
movie, yeah, the
yeah.
film, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I love that film. So
So
I
the
must
sound
know about
the soundtrack to that was metal and dance
like dance,
artists.
yeah.
But
that. I
This
see.
Judgment
mate,
Night started it all. Like honestly, after this, guys, just listen to Biohazard Nonix Judgment Night. You're gonna shit your pants, mate.
Mate,
It's
I
what it's unbelievable.
mate,
Um,
so good.
but this
consider
dropped
it
the
done.
year before Korn's debut album broke. I think this soundtrack might have been a massive, important moment in the boom of like new metal.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
you
got to
might be
be.
right.
It's got to be.
Yeah, we
By the
like
sounds of it.
yeah when you hear Helmet and House of Pain, Daz, you'd be like, oh, okay, I can see where a lot of new metal stuff came from.
Oh, mate, yeah, the drum sound, it's just one riff, but pretty much.
And then it slows down at the end. The one riff
But the
comes back,
house
but
of,
much
yeah,
slower.
Oh,
And
when
then
House of
fucking
it,
Everlast comes in. Just
yeah, yeah,
oh
he
it
comes
God,
in,
is
mate,
Everlast,
and
mate.
yeah, I was fucking sick, mate.
it's
All right,
unbelievable.
I'm having a bit of this. I'm
Yeah,
having a
that's
portion of this,
you
baby.
are gonna fucking love it.
I will.
Um, so 1994, then the PlayStation was launched in Japan.
Yes, classic.
Did you have an original
Yeah,
PS1?
I had a PS1.
I did. I had a PS1, and sometimes I still like YouTube the opening thing, but just to get that fucking like 5 seconds
Uh,
of nostalgia, you know, like the
Yeah,
sound when
yeah,
it
yeah,
turns on.
yeah,
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 I'm like,
yeah.
mate.
oh
Oh, them
yes,
were the
so
days.
good. Oh God, it's so good.
The Lion King and Forrest Gump were the year's biggest films.
Two great films.
Yeah,
Forrest
man.
Gump's a classic.
Yeah. I must have had me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
That's like fucking Bo, isn't it? That's Bo
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Trying all the new Dr. Peppers.
Forrest
um,
Bow.
Maradona got sent home from USA
You
94 for
dirty bastard.
being
Yes,
off his bonce on Bugle.
Yeah, look at that
I
picture.
mean, look at
Just
his
look at
face.
that
Like,
picture. Yeah,
mate.
that's
he's,
bugled up, mate.
he is, isn't he?
Playing football, scored a worldie
Just running
in a
Fucking
around the
World
hell.
pitch.
Cup.
Like,
In a World Cup as well. That's fucking
I
oh,
mean,
that's
I'm not being
jokes.
funny, but like that must have been one of the greatest feelings any single human being could have felt. Like just being juiced up on fucking bugle, mate, and then scoring a wonder goal in the fucking World Cup. I mean,
resting heart rate of 174. Like, uh,
ugh,
and now that's what I call Music 29 was the UK's biggest selling album.
They were massive back in the day, weren't
They
it? Those
were, weren't
Now
they?
albums. Yeah, because like I
Yeah.
said, you had all the chart music and Top of the
That's it.
Pops and
All have the
stuff
good
like
the massive
that.
singles on them
Massive
and that, didn't
singles,
it?
yeah. Everyone wanted them, yeah. So they
Mm.
were. I had quite a few of them, but I probably had that as well.
Yeah, this one had M Beat and General Levy's Incredible on it,
Oh,
which
well, I
is
definitely had it then.
all timer.
Every fucking
Incredible. Uh, so starting off then again, of course, with death metal. Bolt Thrower released for Victory, their fifth album.
brilliant
Um,
album.
yeah, their last with Andy Whale on the old drum kit. I think this again was the first time I heard them on that earplug sampler.
Mm.
This is my favorite Bolt Thrower album. I think
I was
it's
going to
not
say this
popular choice, but
a lot of people do
Go with this.
champion for Victory
for Victory is
over
brilliant, man.
some of the others.
It's a brilliant
But
record. This.
yeah,
Um, so some of the eagle-eyed cherries amongst you spotted that we didn't have an obituary album up to this point, and that is because we've spoken about them loads, the earlier stuff, Cause of Death and that. So we wanted to drop in here World Demise, which is their fourth album, where obituary really like they had a little bit of a shift here, didn't they? Slowed their sound right down. Like this barely breaks out of a trot, a
yeah, no,
mid
yeah,
tempo trot, does it? And
yeah.
there's like samples on here.
Oh, it's
Like
it's
there's a
weird.
the breakdown in World Demise, like the title track. It's got like a sample. It sounds like a fucking shotgun or something,
Mm,
just over the top of it, repetitive. And it's like, what? Like there's so many different weird little moments in this record that yeah,
yeah,
it's a real like we wanted to just drop this in because it's more of a talking point than
yeah. I mean, it's top four obituary albums for me, innit? First three, and then this one, like,
yeah, you
is in there.
you love this album, Daz, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, I do, and I think I probably shouldn't speak for Scott from Maggot Stomp, but I think he'd probably say this is up there for him as well. He loves World Demise, and a lot of people do. You know, Colin, he's got a World Demise shirt. I mean,
Yeah.
It's Dan
it's a big
Goldberg's
album.
favorite one as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Right
You
now.
know, I mean, they just shifted away from the sort of like death metal tropes here, didn't they? And they changed. I mean, the fucking cover is about, you know, it's pollution in the city and that. And they kind of moved towards more like environmental issues, like tackling all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think there's a lot of hardcore in this album.
A lot of hardcore in
So
this
the
album,
cover's
mate.
kind of like you took that Bitchery logo off and put like a Sick of It All logo on there.
Mm.
Like it's a kind of a hardcore cover, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, as you say, like we mentioned off air, back half of this album is probably some of my favorite stuff on it. But fuck me, is it weird? Kill for me, 6 minutes long, weirdest build up with these tribal drums. I mean, it wouldn't be out of place on Roots, this album.
Mm.
It really wouldn't. You know, they've even got kind of 2 minutes ish of indigenous tribal singing in this track and some weird flute, and they just went fucking mental on this album
I
in
like
terms of
they
that.
had the balls to change the blueprint
God,
Yeah.
fucking
of
hell,
what
yeah.
people thought they should release. They just did something different, and for me, it still came out on top.
And they left it at that as well, Dan, didn't
They
they?
left
They
it
never did it
exactly.
again.
No, they never did it again, and
Um,
it's good to do that. It paid off, I think. It definitely paid off for them.
they wanted to do it on the incomplete and stuff, and like even
Yes,
cause of death like this. So they had tried to
Ideas.
contain this sort of like
they had to get
urge
Yeah.
it
and
out.
these
They had to get it
ideas. They
out their
tried to
system,
contain
innit?
it, and then they just no, by world demise they had to get it out of their system. But like
Yeah.
I was
Well,
listening to this on the cans the other day, and like Jim, you're right. Like some of these songs have got these fucking weird, and they're not very prominent. They're sat right at the back. I had to keep
yeah.
looking around, thinking, "Fucking hell,
Yes.
who's shouting and that, or what's going on?" Like it kind of sounded like you were in New York, maybe like on a real busy day,
Yeah, yeah.
listening to Obituary. Like that's kind of the vibe it gives off. So yeah, really interesting album, man.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's still got some massive like final thoughts and don't care and the title track. It's still
Oh,
got massive bangers on it. So do you
massive.
know what I mean? If that's
It's
what you want. So
yeah.
talking of massive bangers, Cannibal Corpse released The Bleeding, their fourth album and the last to feature Scott Barnes. Hugely Chris Barnes, sorry, it's fucking Scott. Hugely influential. Like I think this is the one a lot of people still point to, isn't it? As the
This is
yeah.
my favorite Cannibal Corpse album.
Oh, is it?
If I had to pick an overall, this would be the best for the Barnes era.
Oh, it's definitely best for the
Definitely
Barnes
the
era
This
best for
for
the
is
me.
Barnes
best.
era.
Definitely the best for the Barnes
This is
era.
the best I think
And
for me in the whole discography.
Oh wow.
This is it.
it's top three-ish, I think, for me. But I
This is
mean,
one. for
we
me.
can go over the discography rankings till the cows come home because there's not
Yes.
really a wrong order. But what
No,
I
no.
did find was interesting retrospectively going back, they've managed to create a few iconic albums up to this point, haven't
Yes.
they? Like
Yeah.
Tomb of
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Mutilated, like whatever, all of them pretty much like
Yep.
were relatively iconic, and then they dropped this one, which also became iconic and a classic, which is
Yeah.
kind of fucking insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Considering it was quite a big style shift as well, change of style on this one, I think. Like they moved well away from like the real brutal death metal sound.
Some groove in, get a groove in here again, mate. Like this was the 90s. I think it's a word that I would use to, you were
Describe the
picking a
night.
few
Yeah,
Yeah.
words to
the
describe the 90s in
anonymous
a, yeah, groove,
groove. Yeah, it
And
is.
definitely.
Cannibal Corpse sort of continued. This was like the blueprint, and they
Yeah,
continued it. Some albums were even more groovier, but still had that fucking brutal heaviness.
Yeah,
What
absolutely,
this
mate.
this possesses. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just a classic, isn't it? There's
Oh
it's a
mate,
like,
it's
great album.
brilliant,
one you picked here, Def, Amorphis, Tales from the Thousand Lakes. The
brilliant.
second album. Again, there's sort of merging of style at this time, wasn't it? Mellow death, death doom. Um, maybe one of the earliest use of synths
Yeah, it
as
had to
well in
be.
this
Yeah,
style of
possibly.
music.
Yeah, just a beautiful sounding album. That's sort of, melodic death metal, very easy listening.
Yeah. And it's got a blue cover as well. One of the first of
Real
the
nice blue
blue
cover as well.
cover's almost a genre now, isn't it, of its own in
Yeah,
death metal.
yeah, that's it.
Oh, the
And it,
supremacy of the blue cover.
yeah, the blue cover supremacy, and I think it might have started here.
It had to have been. Yeah,
There's a couple that are coming up, but
It's
yeah,
a shout.
I think it might have started here. Cryptopsy released their debut album, Blasphemy Made Flesh. Death metal starting to get more technical now, and like
just
people,
don't get more
yeah,
technical
you
than
do,
Critopsy. Fuck
you
me.
do not, mate. No, like Atheist and Cynic had done that sort of spacey, proggy stuff. Cryptopsy
Yeah,
now just like melding like brutally heavy death metal like Suffocation, but with like even more technical chops.
it's yeah, it's just insanity, mate. It just when you hear it, you just cannot believe these are human beings
Kind of gets
making this.
overlooked a little bit this record, I think,
Yeah,
because of
but
None So Vile, so great, but it's a
yeah,
great debut album.
it's a
This,
fucking sick album, man.
yeah. Um, into the world of black metal then, and two all-time genre classics. Emperor released in the Nightside Eclipse. Um, just one of the genre's most influential albums ever, and pioneering in that symphonic black metal sound. I read loads about this when I was younger, like 14, 15, in Kerrang and Metal Hammer and that. So I was like, oh, I'm going to buy it. And I like listened to it once and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like when you've been listening to Machine Head and like
Yeah,
Pantera, I was
Yes.
like, what the fuck is this? I was like, I can't even
Mm.
hear any riffs. Are there any riffs? This geezer can't sing. I was absolutely
Where's the
disgusted.
groove?
Yeah, mate, I was disgusted the first time I heard this. I'd spent 15 quid on this. Like, it's, but, the older and wiser you get,
Mm.
the more
Yeah,
you
I mean,
appreciate.
yeah,
it's a hell of a jump at the time, isn't it? That's the
massive,
thing.
mate.
Oh
Massive.
God, mate. Yeah,
Fuck me.
That doesn't happen anymore, does it? Like the innocence of
Not,
youth, like, you don't really get that anymore, do you, when you get older and you've listened to shitloads of music?
yeah.
I love
It's
the
kind of a
effect that
shame in a way.
it is, mate. It is. It
Yeah.
really is. Like,
Yeah.
the and Mayhem, Def, one of your favorites, Dean Mysterious, Dom Satanas, their debut album. You all know the story behind this. 7 years in the making, but there can't be another metal album in history with the lore of this album, can there?
it can't be, mate. This is just yeah, how this album got
This is
made in the first
actual
place.
actual mayhem, mate.
It is, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There
Fuck,
never
it's
was a band
actual.
more aptly named.
Yeah. Band ever.
pure.
Like, it's
Yeah,
just like mayhem, literally,
pure
mate.
fucking mayhem. That's exactly where that comes from, mate.
Fucking hell, mate.
But yeah, two
God of
like
shit.
just even at this early stage, black metal's now going off into different directions, isn't it? So they like these genres didn't sit around in one place for very long. And the UK were getting involved as well because Cradle of Filth released their debut album, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh.
Yeah.
Um, Gothic metal and black metal colliding.
Like, I
Like,
fucking love this album.
yeah, so do I. Yeah,
Like, it really um there's such a real fucking like what you say with Dust Gym, like there's a real sort of special fucking like a cult
Atmosphere.
electricity around this record that
Yes.
when you put it on, it fucking like takes you just to a really dark medieval British town, like that's full of fucking, nasty witchcraft.
Yeah, yeah,
Hemel
and people
Hempstead.
fucking with pitchforks
Yeah,
and
and
all
like,
that.
Victorian times or something.
But the thing with Cradle of Filth,
Great.
what stands out even now, no one sounds like them.
No.
They
No,
are a
no.
band of their own. No, nothing sounded like Principle. Nothing sounded like Dusk when it was cut. Nothing. No one sounded like Cradle of Filth.
No.
That's why they are the band that they are. They're
Yeah.
in a league of their own.
Mate, The
Uh,
Forest Whispers My Name is
that's
like
right.
It's
fucking
all timer, isn't
unbelievable,
it?
mate. The
All
Black
timer.
Goddess Rises, unbelievable, mate.
Yeah,
Of
man.
Mists and Midnight Skies, A Dream of Wolves in the Snow, mate. It's all fucking good.
It's brilliant, mate. Like
Oh, God,
it's a
it's brilliant.
raw sounding record for them, but it's a great sounding record in the context of
Yeah.
early black metal as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I love I don't know if it was a re-recording of the Forest Whispers My Name they did on the Vampire EP.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
it
it
was.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
That
yeah.
might just be one of my top two or three Cradle songs. That
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
fucking
100%.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um, so then we veer off now into a completely different direction. Because Korn released their self-titled debut, changed the face of music and metal in the 90s. Just a groundbreaking record. Like Def, I remember me and you listening to this in school
We were
non-stop. We'd
there, innit?
never heard anything like it before.
We first heard. Forgive me if we sort of found like a pirate metal radio station, didn't we, in school that
Yes.
we used to listen to, and that's where we first heard Blind. And it was our classic. You had one ear pod, I had the other, and we were sort of looking at each other, thinking,
What is this?
"How is the bass making that sound?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't understand how it sounds like the actual guitar. It
Yeah, how the
nothing.
guitar solo? What's going on?
Yeah,
Like
it's just so heavy. Why he's just screaming? He's just like talking, and then he's screaming, and then he's speaking in another language. No, this was fucking mate.
Mate, when I
Yeah.
heard this, this was like life changing when I heard Blind.
When did you first hear this album, Daz?
This was on that mixtape that kiddie gave me when I was
Oh,
kind of
sick.
like halfway through secondary school. So that's when like all that stuff started popping off in it. So where are we at on here? Like
94.
1994. So I was at school probably like 5 years later after this.
Oh
So it was
wow.
still kind of but I remember hearing Blind, and I remember just the primal feeling that like that bloody producer was like, "Are you
Yeah.
ready?" And he's
Mm.
like fucking going absolutely potty, mate.
Bro, me, you, Def, on it. A few of our mates at school were obsessed with this fucking
We bought
record,
this
weren't we?
album. This is all we listened to, pretty
Yeah,
much.
same as that. And like I was thinking about this today at work actually when about this album. I was like, do you know what? Like it probably came along at like the right time with the way sort of Jonathan Davis was touching on, lyrics and themes of, being bullied and stuff like that. And I think that's a lot of sort of running themes that quite a few people probably experienced in school. So,
Oh,
songs
yeah.
like Clown and stuff like that would really resonated with me when I was kind of like in secondary school when I first like was listening to this sort of stuff. And I
100%,
was
mate.
just like,
Like,
it was kind of like a little bit of a shield, wasn't it? I think where you just
Mm.
thought, well, you know what? Like, there's a place for people like me
yeah.
here.
And there's someone who knows what it's like to get called fucking names because you like
Yeah,
heavy
because
metal and stuff.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was just a fucking groundbreaker, man. I
yeah.
like,
It was a perfect storm, mate. I think this record when it came out.
yeah, I don't, it'll be very difficult to see how that ever happens again, but
Exactly, exactly. People will shit on like new metal and stuff and corn and whatever but I mean, it's like
there are a
that will
lot of
never
metal
happen again.
fans. No, there are a lot of metal fans nowadays, like similar age to us, who this was their
Yeah,
introduction
exactly.
point. So,
100%. Yeah. Millions.
yeah. Machine Head, talking of classic debuts, dropped their debut album, Burn My Eyes,
Jesus.
Roadrunner's best-selling debut record up until Slipknot released theirs in '99. Um, again, like social commentary lyrics on here, thrash, hardcore, groove. This album was like, and this was wasn't it that there was a few in '94. but as me and you were there and like hungry for so much, there was a few albums that just dropped like a sledgehammer or a 10-ton hammer in this case. Um,
Yeah.
Hey, what up, mate?
and Burn My Eyes was just one of them, wasn't it?
Burn My Eyes blew our fucking socks off, mate, because it had everything we wanted in a metal album. Nod your head to it.
Hard, aggressive.
Hard, aggressive, groovy, catchy hooks.
Yeah.
You could understand what Rob was saying. You could understand
Yeah.
the lyrics. It was just, oh, mate, going back to that time, listening to this for the first time.
Oh,
Mate, Davidian is one of the greatest fucking tracks of probably not of
Yeah.
the
Probably
90s
one of the
ever.
most played on Kerrang
It,
radio
Yeah, yeah,
TV, to be
yeah,
fair,
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time. It was
Davidian.
every other song, wasn't it?
Yeah,
But
it's
and rightfully
just
so. It was a
Mate,
groundbreaking album, mate. This.
seeing
yeah.
Davidian on Headbangers Ball and like they just look like a gang. They look like a fucking they were scary looking, mate, in that
Rob
video,
looked
walking around with that
Rob
pit
looked
bull and they're like
Rob looked fucking nasty as
but
fuck, man.
I remember chatting in school about this stuff when it came up. We were like, "Oh my god, these like look at this!" Like Logan Madder
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
lights, like built
Just
like a town. We were like,
fucking yeah,
"Look
just
at these dudes,
jacked.
man! Oh my
yeah,
god!"
man.
We couldn't believe it, could we? Like you've been used to seeing like blokes in leather jackets and like long hair and spandex trousers
Now they were
hitting its heavy.
fucking
Now they would
ripped,
look like this, and you
jacked.
were like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
tatted, ripped, jacked up, man.
just
You
weren't
Yeah,
ready for it, were you?"
fucking
there,
Like,
hell,
there's
yeah,
not that
man.
many degrees of separation from Burn My Eyes, Machine Head, like sort of aesthetically to look at, like than Biohazard.
no, there's
No,
not.
Really,
And
there's
no.
then
not much in it, mate. They're
and
pretty
then,
much
mate,
two sides of the same coin.
then there's not much from that aesthetic to like NWA and stuff
Yeah,
like that. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
all very like it was that fucking like ground level urban music, wasn't it?
I
And it
think
was
like
yeah.
you know, parallel to these albums dropping, like hip hop was going through the same thing
yeah.
with artists on that side of the fence. Maybe we should do a 90s hip hop episode. That'd be fucking sick. I think it
Dude.
lines up perfectly, mate. Like the stuff that's happening. And I think that was why there was so much crossover. They were just like, oh, let's get together with these fucking massive megastar bands and like, get together with the massive megastar hip hoppers
Yeah, because hip hop
and
was
just
getting harder
started.
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah,
In the 90s. Yeah, I'm down for that. That
Yeah,
you're gonna love that Judgment Night soundtrack. Holy shit.
mate. I can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. Pantera released Far Beyond Driven, number one Billboard record, platinum selling,
crazy.
and they just got heavier with each record. Like
5 minutes
this
It
went
alone
to
into
number
Armor
one on the
Broken.
you forget it does.
It's just good friends of the bottle of pills kind of kills the momentum of the record for me after that. But you
I
know,
do you know what?
it's got its place.
That was always the case for me as well, Dad. So like
Yeah,
if I'm listening to this now, I do skip that.
yeah, me too.
But
Me too.
it wasn't until a few years later because I was like, oh, it kind of loses its way a little bit here. But then if you skip that, I think Hardline Sunken Cheeks is a little bit the same.
Yes,
Then you've got
yeah,
fucking Slaughtered,
Slaughtered is
Shedding Skin,
yeah,
using my third art.
yeah,
After that, it's just
yeah. If they'd have just like not put them in, that would have been pretty cool. But
yeah,
whatever, it is what it is.
it's just such a fucking aggressive like for this to go number one Billboard is absolutely
yeah,
insane.
man.
Like and then Def, I realized when I was looking at this, I think nearly half of our fucking greatest albums of all time are released in this year.
Yes, and this is
Yeah,
one
you
of them,
mentioned
mate.
that earlier. Yes,
Yeah.
crazy. It is crazy.
This next one's one of them.
Yeah, Corrosion of Conformity released their fourth album, Deliverance. The first with Pepper on vocals is one of the greatest of all time, Def. Just
Mate,
no question, one of the greatest
this
albums of all time.
I think you heard this at the time before me, and you were telling me you've got to get on this, you've got to get it. And I went down to Metalheads in Camden,
Yeah,
the Holy
boy.
Grail, and I went up to the counter. I was with my auntie, and she was like, "Yeah, just ask for it." I was like, "Yeah, hello, excuse me, have you got correction of conformity deliverance on tape?" And the bloke looked at me as if to think, this kid must be fucking like 12 years old. He's asking for deliverance from corrosion of conformity.
Yeah, what?
And he got the tape. I remember he was like, "Oh man," he was like, you are the man." He goes, "This is brilliant." He goes, "You're gonna love this album." And I was sort of, I can't remember what the call, but I would have said, "Oh yeah, my friend at school told me about, I like Metallica, blah blah." And he gave me a pin. He used to have these pin. He gave it to me for free. I think because he was so shocked that like a kid went in there asking for corrosion of conformity on tape.
Oh, mate, that's
So this album is so
special.
special to me, man.
Yeah. Same as that, bruv.
Uh, can I just quickly touch on like, I really, really fucking miss like going into like old record stores, like like MVC and Power Play and stuff, and like you'd
Tower.
have you'd have those like older heads that would kind of
Yeah,
give
Yep.
you like cool shit, like you know what I mean, and
Yep.
be like, oh yeah, sick, like take this sticker or something, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
get
yeah.
that
You
anymore, and
don't
that's
get
a
that.
real dying fucking thing, man. Like with eBay and Amazon and all this. I know you got HMV, but that's pretty much fucking finished, isn't it? But you
Mate,
know,
even that doesn't have the magic anymore. I
no,
went
it's
to the
not.
reopening
Magic's
of
gone,
the
man.
London one, and the magic's gone, mate. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not the
me-
fucking
same.
we've said it loads of
bad.
times. If we ever win the lottery, Def, Camden, we're opening reopening Metalheads, aren't we?
We're doing our metalheads, mate.
That
Three of
is the
us. We're gonna
that is the
run it,
first
mate.
one. But
Yeah.
those, yeah, you're right, Daz. Those record shops, the ones that catered to our music,
Yeah, and they
were
had all the
so
fucking cool
special.
shit behind the counter, like all the limited edition stuff,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucking whatever.
Metalheads did. They had all
And
the.
Oh,
and the people who worked in there were genuine music fans, weren't they?
yeah,
They
proper.
weren't. That wasn't just their job that they were doing on a
No,
Saturday.
you
Like it
could get a
was.
nice couple of fucking CDs and go and check the posters, wouldn't you? Be like, oh yeah, this fucking new Slipknot or Machine Head
Yeah,
poster, like stick that on the fucking wall.
yeah.
Oh,
I know there is. I know there's a couple of music shops opening in London now. You know, like Raven Records and Crypt of the Wizard and stuff. But we're not vinyl collectors, and so it
yeah,
doesn't have that.
That's what it caters for
All
now, isn't
props
it?
to them for what they're doing, man. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
fucking brilliant. But obviously we're CD dudes, so
yeah.
like it's
And back then, I mean, it would never, I mean, back then it was a CD. That was the thing, wasn't it? The vinyl was dead then.
yeah, yeah. That's it, mate.
So the entire shop was just CDs, and it was all metal. Metal had a massive fucking cut of the
Yeah,
shop floor.
it absolutely did, mate.
Predominantly because of the 90's, really.
Yep. We've spoken about Megadeth Euthanasia on our top tracks, Death, so we won't go into that one. Go and listen to Megadeth top tracks; it was wicked. Um, one of the best one and dones in music history.
Yeah,
Nail Bomb released their one and only album, Point Blank. So that
What an album.
the legendary Max Cavalera, Alex Newport from Fudge Tunnel, those two joined up. Just a fucking industrial metal beast.
there's a lot of hardcore punk in this as well.
Yes,
There's
there
a
A
is.
lot
lot
of
of that,
everything. There's a lot
and
of everything
the
in.
cover's iconic with the gun, the muzzle of the gun to that old
Yeah,
lady's head.
I read
yeah.
that they wanted something that would have the same impact as the Rage Against the Machine
Mate,
debut.
fucking, do you know I always thought that. I was just like, it's
Yeah,
very similar to Rage Against the Machine.
that's what they wanted.
Yeah,
And you can imagine
a
like
true pick, a
you can
true
imagine like
pick. Yeah,
loads of kids like in Brazil wearing a nail bomb shirt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually saw a comment on fucking YouTube. Like not sure whether it's true or what have you, because the internet, but the person was just like, I was from Brazil when this came out, and everybody had the t-shirt. That was
Mate,
the
sick.
problem with the t-shirt now, what's it says, bomber clock motherfucker or something at the
it's got a
back,
stupid back print,
and it's
man. I'd
like,
love a
oh
nail bomb shirt,
yeah, oh
but
you can't get it because it's got the
no.
print at the back, and you just think, oh, why have you ruined it, man?
Yeah, yeah.
Just get a fucking marker pen and just like
I
color it
just
in.
wear it under a hoodie.
Yeah, I can't wear that in the
Yeah,
co-op, innit?
Yeah.
under a
Me and
battle
Deffer's
jacket.
short-lived band at school who never wrote a song, Nailhead, took their inspiration name from
Yes,
half of Nail Bomb and half of Machine Head, Beth, wasn't
yes, mate. Nailhead. God, just
it?
imagine, mate.
We
God,
had the logo, Daz, everything.
we
No
could have
fucking
had
songs though.
our album on here, mate. It could have been on here. Nailhead.
Oh,
Fucking hell, they were the days, mate.
great times. Def, an album you wanted to you popped on here, interesting one. Testament released their sixth album, Low. So this had James Murphy of every death metal band on guitar.
Yeah,
This they really shifted into this was really
This
fucking
is
heavy, isn't
why
it?
we talk about bands that do an album that you felt that they were craving to do and then moved on to
Yeah,
very
yeah,
similar to what they were
yeah,
doing or going on to new things. Low is Testament at their fucking heaviest, man.
yeah. Absolutely, mate. It's a very different sounding album in their discography, isn't it? But
It production wise, it just sounds raw. It just sounds like they just went in the studio, clicked record, and just played. There's some the heavy. It's pretty much death metal riffs at times, man. It's
very death metal.
so
well, that's
heavy.
James Murphy, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
mate.
yeah. Get him on guitar
I
and
mean,
what?
Yeah.
he would have been in. He did Death and Obituary amongst others at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah,
Oh, mate. It's
absolutely.
I love this album. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, me too, mate. So then going then into the more alternative side of things now with just literally some of the biggest selling albums of fucking all time. The Offspring released their third album, Smash. Def, I just looking at this, I cannot believe all these albums came out in 1 year.
I love
mate.
Even
doing this retrospective stuff, and
yeah,
it's amazing when you can
It's
kind of
great,
look at it
yeah.
all in a sheet in front of you.
mad
And
does.
like you said, a lot of these albums, like you said, were in our goat list, but all
Bec-
within a couple of years, probably a couple, 2, 3 years in between
It
everything,
just shows Def like how impressionable we were at like 13, 14. That we were just
and
lapping everything with guitars up,
they're
weren't we?
still huge now. I mean, Smash is still a fucking massive influence album now. It's still a huge album
Ah,
now.
obsessed with this record, Def, weren't we?
Mate,
Like
oh God, mate, it's just got everything. It's got everything on it.
11 million copies, the biggest selling album ever by an independent label. So
Yeah, I'm not
Epitaph
Wow.
put this
surprised.
out.
I'm not surprised, mate.
Um, Green Day released their third album, Dookie. Oh, guess what? We were obsessed with this Def as well, weren't we? Like,
Fucking
fucking
hell.
Not many
hell.
kids that age weren't, you know. Like
No,
that was just like a global phenomenon, wasn't it,
this
Dookie?
was a perfect storm, Daz. These
Yeah.
two albums coming out are literally within a couple of months of each other.
Yeah.
Um, this is like a diamond selling record. 20 million copies
Ridiculous.
sold. Ah, like this. Smash and Dookie are like two, like you were saying earlier, Daz. They're like a warm blanket. These two albums.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird because like it kind of put punk on the fucking map a bit as well. Like, you know, it's
it
kind
blew
of
it right
weird.
back up, mate.
Yeah, which is almost in a way completely antithetical to what punk is, but
Yeah,
there you go.
that's why
It's insane.
a lot of older heads, mate, will not
They won't
classify
have
these as
it. They
punk. They
won't
will
have it.
No,
not
no, they
have it
won't
as
have it.
Nah.
punk. But
Yeah, but tough shit it is. So
just two of the best albums of all time.
yeah,
Just two of the best albums of all time. It's as simple as that. Soundgarden released Super Unknown, their fourth album, same as Pantera, number one Billboard album, 6 times platinum.
I mean,
fucking hell.
we spoke about Bad Motor Finger, in it? That and this, it's
This is a masterpiece, mate.
uh,
Super Unknown.
fucking masterpiece,
It
mate.
it took me a few years to really get into this record because it's a long album, isn't it?
Yes,
And there's a lot of different styles of songwriting, but every song on here is just incredible.
Mate,
brilliant.
it's blowing my mind like how so many of these metal bands and punk bands and stuff like were going like platinum.
Does
It,
this
what
it
doesn't happen now. It's
no
over. It's gone.
that's the sad guitar
Never again.
music was the
In the 90's,
one
early
of the most was like
2000s, yeah.
almost like the dominant force, but it's
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
and when you see the state of it now commercially,
Yeah, commercially, yeah, that's I think that's the correct word, isn't it?
yeah. Um, but just for all these albums that people will they're legit masterpieces to come out at this time, like it's overwhelms my brain thinking about it. I
Yeah.
can't just put trying to and to think that I know, Daz, you came in a bit later, but to think we were there when all this was happening is it's why this decade is that just holds like
Yeah.
the most special place. And talking of an album that holds a special place, Def, Therapy released their second album, Trouble Gum. Kerrang's album of the year, 1994.
I think it's fuck me. I mean, I think I remember, but I think I got it from our price. I bought this. I got the CD still with a sticker on it, half ripped because I couldn't get it
Yes,
off. Oh my! This is like Smash and Dookie. It's in that same
yeah, it is.
ballpark. Every time you play it, it takes you back to the
Oh, gives me
first time you
goosebumps,
listened to it.
mate.
It gives you goosebumps, and you still get the same joy of listening it from the first time
Yep,
to the 88th time.
yep.
There's
It
no different.
it was just that blend of like metal, alternative, punk,
And there was a lot of things.
pop.
Uh, yeah, a lot of different sounds on Trouble Gun, wasn't it?
Andy
You got
Kells
something
just
like
writes the biggest choruses, doesn't he?
best call. We've said that about Therapy, in the pod when we reviewed the new album before.
Yeah,
It's just they've got choruses that they're untouchable with.
yeah, absolutely, mate. 9 Inch Nails released the Downward Spiral, their second album. A masterpiece of that genre. I didn't realize it was recorded in the Sharon Tate murder house, which is
I mean,
fucking mental. Obviously murdered by the Manson family. Like Trent
Going
Reznor just moved in and recorded an album there,
going full method acting, mate. Just
yeah.
basking in the ambience of that fucking nightmare.
I've massively got into Nine Inch Nails over the last few years, and the Downward Spiral is an absolute masterpiece. An album I dropped in last Doors, Death. Can't believe we missed it out. One we loved in school. Bush released 16 Stone,
Oh my God.
their debut album. An English. This was such a weird one, wasn't it? An English band that went nuclear in the US. Kind of post grunge, I guess you would call
I
Mm.
them.
I think it was because of the vocal. He was a bit handsome, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he
That
was a
old
good looking
bastard.
lad, wasn't he? Yeah.
And he was with oh, what's her face as well,
Gwen
wasn't it?
Stefani, wasn't it?
Yeah, at
Married
the
Gwen
time.
Stefani,
So,
yeah.
and they were obviously coming up and
There's some tunes on this record though. Six
mate,
times platinum, mate,
God,
this record.
mate, I completely forgot
Fucking
about
hell,
that. I was just
six
looking at it
times
now.
platinum. Holy
Oh
shit.
mate,
Glycerine, Everything
glycerine.
Zen,
Oh
Little
mate,
Things, Machine Head.
bomb, bomb.
Fucking
Oh
great
my
record.
God, mate, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to listen to that now.
I listened to it a few
I
years ago, mate.
completely. I'm fucking adding that, mate, to listen to
It's
again.
still brilliant, mate. You'll
That is gonna
remember every
take me
word, I
back.
promise you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a shout, mate.
Yeah. And then to round off this year, going into some hardcore, going into the world of hardcore, some absolute classics released this year. Sick of It All released Scratch the Surface, their third album, their major label debut on East West.
This is one of the first hardcore albums I ever heard.
Same does.
Yeah,
Very
so sick.
early. Step
Yeah,
Down was on MTV a fair bit, wasn't it? The
yeah.
video is brilliant with the instructions on how to hardcore dance. It's it's absolutely brilliant. Step Down's a fucking all-time anthem. Madball released their debut, Set It Off.
Yeah,
Um,
copped us a ban on IG. Nice one, bruv.
yeah, cheers for that.
TikTok or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, TikTok, yeah.
TikTok.
Offshoot of Agnostic Front. Freddie Madball was about 8 months old when he first fronted
Yeah,
Madball, wasn't he? He was
crazy.
fucking
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking
so
crazy.
young. Um, One of our favourite albums, Def. Another top 20 for you, mate. Biohazard, State of the World Address.
Biggie, mate. Yeah,
Maybe the
unreal.
most ambitious hardcore album ever. 57 minutes.
I
It's a
think
long
so.
one, isn't it?
Very
It's
anthemic,
again,
anthemic hardcore, wasn't
Mm.
it?
again, it's almost antithetical to hardcore.
Mm.
The length, like it's you know,
Yeah, but
hardcore's usually 20 half hour in it,
weren't doing
tops half hour.
57-minute albums, mate.
No,
But
no. But you know what? Madborn Biohazard, they were just writing fucking catchy choruses with
yeah, they
really
were.
catchy grooves.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the killer.
Yeah,
That was
that's
the
it.
killer combo, mate.
And that's what we wanted, Def, wasn't it? As 14-year-olds, and you wanted stuff that, like I was saying with Emperor, what's going on here? I wanted
Yeah.
stuff that I was like, yeah,
You want shit
Yes.
fuck
that's
it.
like, if you want to survive, be prepared to shoot.
That's it, mate. That's what I wanted. I wanted
Yeah.
fucking riffs that you could just go like that to. And these had it all over it.
Uh,
Um, and Downset released their self-titled debut album.
Great album.
Um, Major label this came out on, absolutely mental. Caused by, like the shift that like Rage Against the Machine and bands
yeah.
like that had started. But yeah, Anger and the title track on this are
Yes.
absolute classics. Right then, so going into our final year in this part, 1995. DVDs were first launched. I remember my
Oh,
mate having one. I was like, fuck, that is never going to catch on. Look at that. Oh my God.
I think the first DVD we got, I think wasn't till 98.
Oh,
Was it
was it?
98? Was it 98 or 97? I remember we bought it from Costco. We bought the DVD player from Costco, and then the first DVD we bought was Blade, the
Oh, what a
movie.
film.
That
Yeah,
was the
Great
first
film.
DVD I bought.
what a film, mate.
Great film.
Gangster's Paradise was the year's biggest song.
God,
Wicked.
Rest in peace, Coolio.
big film, and it was a big.
Yeah.
It was in the big movie, wasn't it?
With the Angels now. Rest in peace, mate.
Yeah.
Um,
You're with the angels now.
Batman Forever was the highest grossing film.
Oh, great film.
And something that made me sick to my fucking stomach when I read this.
No, I can't believe this.
Geordie Fisherman, Robson and Jerome outsold What's the Story Morning Glory in the UK.
But Jim, remember on TV, Robson and Jerome at that time were
Heartthrobs.
they were well, they were everywhere. They were on every fucking channel.
Yeah,
It was number one for fucking how many? I don't know how many weeks it was number one. They were fucking everywhere, man, on TV.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's sickening.
I mean,
Like,
you can
Sickening.
imagine that, like, the Gallagher brothers are still fucking fuming. If you brought this up to them, like, you can imagine
Robson and
Liam
Jerome.
just being like, fucking cunts, mate.
Robson and Jerome, mate.
You've just had your pants pulled down by Robson and Jerome Liam. How'd you feel?
Unbelievable.
Never happened, mate.
Fuck off.
Oh, you bastard.
Death metal then. Christ, death metal's good. Morbid Angel released Domination, their fourth album. First with Rutan,
Yeah.
Yeah,
last with David Vincent, until he returned in terrible circumstances in 2011 with that
Mm.
yeah.
fucking stinker. Death released Symbolic, their sixth album in 12 years.
Wow.
Again, go and listen to that True Cult Pop Out episode we did because
Yeah.
Yeah.
we chat
We
about
done
Symbolic
this.
quite a lot. Amazing. Deicide released one of my favorite death metal albums ever,
Yeah, same.
Once Upon the Cross. Um, Father, why have you forsaken me? The way that starts. Something that's really cool as well. You know the fear him, that bit.
Yeah.
That's what God's Hate used as an inspiration for the kill them section.
Oh,
It finished the
sick.
job
Look
Oh,
at that,
yeah,
mate.
yeah, yeah. Actually, you can
when you
see the
listen to it.
parallel.
That makes
Yeah, yeah,
sense now. Yeah.
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 I mean, this album's just like under 30 minutes in it, I think. Or just over, under. I think it's under.
Do you want to know something I read that blew my mind?
Go on.
This album is 22 minutes worth of music when they recorded it at its original speed. So they had to slow all the recordings down to get an album's worth of
Oh,
music.
It's
shit.
fucking
Okay, cool.
crazy.
So these songs aren't even played at the full speed that they were written at.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
And
That is fucking
What's up
mental.
on the cross? Can you imagine how's that? How are you can do that even faster?
Jesus Christ. I'd love to hear that raw version, man.
Oh yeah,
Oh
so
my
would I,
God, I'll
mate.
be all over that.
they've got to
Um,
release it at some point.
yeah, absolutely, mate. Over in Sweden, the that Gothenburg sound was really starting to develop now at this point. At the Gates released their classic fourth album, Slaughter of the Soul, and Dark Tranquillity released their second album, The Gallery. So that scene is now that Gothenburg sound
Popping.
is really now,
Yeah.
yeah. Ain't it mad to think that a lot of the music that really got you into metal years later was this
Yeah.
was the
Yeah, it
blueprint
was.
for it.
Yeah, it was. I remember like Slaughter of the Soul just being fucking everywhere. Like all the older guys that I kind of used to hang out with had Slaughter of the Soul and they had your obituaries and stuff. But yeah, like and as you say, Dark Tranquillity, they were like massive as well.
Yeah, In Flames and all that early
In
stuff and
Flames, yeah, really
metalcore would
fucking
go on
popping
to
off.
yeah, yeah. Just really unique sound for that part of the world, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Incredible. So we spoke about it slightly earlier, but Pierce from Within, Suffocation, their third album. Um, the only album earlier album to not feature Mike Smith on the tubs.
Mm.
But yeah, back on production form at least
oh,
anyway.
their best album for me.
Yeah, I would say so as well, mate.
Yeah, I would say it's my fave from them.
Opeth released their debut album Orchid on Candlelight. Um, so again, like death metal's now this really now stretching the
Mm,
progressive nature of death metal. So really interesting. Um, so an album you put in it as
yeah,
Dismember's Massive Killing Capacity, their third
yeah,
album.
yeah,
Again, we didn't do the classic,
yeah. We
like a
didn't
Never
do.
Flying Stream.
Yeah,
This is massively underrated, Massive Killing Capacity, isn't it?
yeah, and it's like after they did that and Indecent and Obscene, they changed the style up a bit because again, groovy fucking riffs, slowing it right down, and I think Matty, the vocalist, like he kind of changed up his like style really. There's a lot of hardcore punk influence on this
Mm.
album
Mm,
and the melodies and the guitar work, you know. In the Casket Garden. Like, I
massive
mean, it is
tune.
almost like a hardcore album, the way that the vocals are delivered and the way that they sound. They don't sound like they did on A Never Flowing Stream,
You can
you
see
know.
how this was such a big influence on Gatecreeper, like the new
Yes.
Gatecreeper.
Y-
100%.
Yeah, because I mean, look, you could argue that this was a hardcore record, and you could argue that it was a death metal album. And I don't
Same.
think you'd be wrong, whatever
Mm,
side of the fence you fell on, in terms of trying to, pigeonhole it or what have you. But it was an exceptional album.
yeah,
And again,
it's a great
and
album.
it was another one as well, Jim, that like, people did not like it. when that first came out.
Nope, because God
They,
forbid you change your sound.
But Indecent and Obscene didn't do very well, like sales wise. Like it actually fell flat on its face from what I've was reading about it.
Oh,
Like it didn't
really?
do as well as like, the record company and the band were expecting it to do off of the back of that classic debut. But yes, and then they just switched it up. I just
Yeah, I
thought,
think
fuck it then, we'll try this. We'll try this shit.
it's a great album, mate.
Yeah.
It's a
And
great
again, in
album.
retrospect, Jim, I think a lot of people now have quite a lot of you know,
Yeah, love for this, haven't they?
love for this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they should.
Yeah. Every song on is a fucking banger, mate. To the Bone, On Frozen Fields, I Saw Them Die.
I'd never
Right.
done this until you were sort of doing it, what, a few months back?
Yeah, yeah.
And I did it. It was, yeah, I never sort of really went past sort of ever flowing, but
Hmm.
well impressed with this, man.
Mate,
It's
yeah, well good.
fucking brilliant.
Even some of their more later stuff's like fucking really good. Where Iron Crosses Grows, Wicked Death.
Yeah, it's a wicked album, that.
I think it's better than this album because they kind of go back to that sort of
Early
early
sound.
sound.
Yeah, that HM2 like kind of.
Yeah,
But yeah,
proper death metal.
justice for massive killing capacity, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you get it these days as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you do. A black metal mellow death masterpiece, Dissection, Storm of the Lights, Bane came out,
Oh
their
my
second
God.
album. Yeah, just
Classic.
hugely influential. The last album, obviously, before John was imprisoned for accessory for murder, but as Alan Partridge said, every profession has got its shit. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can, you can still enjoy the music if you want. It's cool.
yeah. And people
Um,
do.
yeah, it's a fucking great record. I
Yeah,
listened to this again the other day and it just blows my top every time. Like,
yeah. It's a near perfect album, in it, if not like the most perfect melodic black metal record you'll ever get, I think.
yeah, there's so much mellow death in here as well. Like it's
Yep,
just a lovely blend of the two, isn't it?
yeah.
Um, and then talking of albums, definitely we did in the last one that were in our top 20 of all time, and Daz as well. Now you're starting to creep into that top 20. Fear Factory released The Manufacture. I think this was the only one of the only ones in all of our top 20s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, we've spoken about this at length, so we won't go into it too much, but just hugely, hugely influential
Mm.
on everything that happened in metal.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, they were at it on Soul of a New Machine
They
anyway,
were.
weren't they? But this
Yeah.
one, they just really knocked it out of the park.
I never heard anything like this when it came out. Another one, Def, we just sat there going, what is this human? What is going on here? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. It was,
unbelievable.
yeah, those the sounds that were coming out from those guitars, the
The
chord
drums, like,
structures, the strums, it was just like how is this sound getting made? It was ridiculous. But it had that sort of dance feel to it in it.
yeah,
Industrial. We probably didn't know what industrial was at that fucking time. We
no,
didn't know industrial metal. We just knew it as like it's fucking fast, it's heavy. It sounds different to Machine Head and all the other stuff that we were listening to. This was in a different league.
we were like, this is the future. Oh my God, this is the future. When
Yes.
we were like,
Yeah. This is it now. This is what metal is.
yeah, well, mate, and how exciting that a band could do that,
Yeah,
have that
well, I
effect on
mean,
people.
and no
Yeah.
one else has come close to that. I just think that Fear Factory was kind of like one of those bands that like no one dared touch
They had a signature
in
sound,
terms
mate,
of
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
emulating. Yeah,
yeah, it mental that they had a signature sound that not many bands have a signature sound, but they do.
but they came out of Obsolete after this as well, didn't they? Or was this?
Yeah.
Or it was
Yeah,
Obsolete was
after? It's
after. Yeah.
after. Yeah,
Obsolete after.
Obsolete's incredible as well.
yeah, yeah. It is.
What a band. Down released their legendary Nola debut, the superest of supergroups,
Yeah.
a timeless record, like arguably Phil Anselmo's best vocal performance, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
Full of soul, full of power, full of like, and it's just there's not wasted second on this album anywhere, is there? Like,
That's another one of the greatest of all times, mate.
yeah,
Across all
absolutely.
Yeah.
three of our lists, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or
It
no, I
Oh
don't
was.
know
yes,
whether it
it,
went into mine. Oh, it should have done. I think I remember thinking, "Fuck, it should have done."
yeah,
But it
yeah,
would be if we redid it again. This would
I
be
think
it.
again, this was a day one for me and Jim. We were there.
yeah. We
We
will
when this
revisit
came
the
out.
we'll
I mean,
revisit
again,
the goat at some point.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
again, like I came in to Down. I first heard them on Down 2. Anyway,
Yeah.
Oh, Bus on Your Hedgerow. Yeah, that was
yeah,
like
that was
98 or something, I
yeah.
think,
Yeah.
So
wasn't
I
it? A
was a
bit
bit
later.
later on. So I heard that like early 2000s, couple of years after that.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
and went
Yeah,
back, but this would be in my list for sure.
yeah, just an incredible fucking record, isn't it?
Mm.
Um, White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000,
Oh,
their fourth and
mate,
final album, double platinum selling. It's mad that they released this and then broke up.
save the best till last.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's a magical record, this again. Like one of them
Again,
ones where you know every word, you know every little bit of the booklet. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like everything about it, you just know,
yeah.
you know inside out. Yeah, such a shame that whenever that question, which band would you like to see reform? I'd love to see White Zombie come back
Oh
and do like
God, mate.
some shows.
Yes.
Paradise Lost released Draconian Times, fifth album, where they just, like we said earlier, perfected that sound, that gothic tinged heavy metal that they were going for.
It was, yeah,
Perfection.
straight lace. This, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, oh, mate, not enough words to describe how fucking awesome this album is.
No, it's a masterpiece, mate.
It is.
I don't know, over in Sweden, Meshuggah released their second album, Destroy, Erase, Improve. I think this is where Meshuggah started to define their sound, wasn't it? And sort of became one of the most unique bands in heavy music, essentially.
Yeah. I
But
think
Future
even,
Breed Machine was a massive fucking song, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
You know,
An album that created a genre, like created a fucking genre name every. It's just mental, isn't it? That there's such a influential band, and again, nobody sounds like them.
yeah. You had sort of Meshuggah and Fear Factory in the same year.
Yeah,
Similar,
changing the
but
game.
but
yeah, but
different. They
like
went
Meshuggah was like Albert Einstein,
Meshuggah was
and
Yeah,
like
te
and
yeah,
Meshuggah was technical. Fear Factory
yeah.
was like Fisher Price. Yeah,
fucking hell,
it
like
was.
Meshuggah
Albert
was like the
Einstein.
Large Hadron Collider,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Fear Factory was like a Bunsen burner.
yeah,
But what a Bunsen burner! The
Yeah,
best
what
Bunsen
Bunsen burner?
burner
yeah,
in the
yeah.
world.
The
That's no
best
thing, but
Bunsen.
yeah,
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 Meshuggah are trying to open up rifts to another dimension, mate.
yeah.
That's
And
what
yeah,
they
they're
yeah.
doing
did,
with
and
these
they did. Oh,
polyrhythms and shit. I mean, no
they
one had
fuck.
heard anything like this, but no one had heard anything like this before,
No, no, they
and they're
hadn't.
fucking coming out with this nutty shit, mate.
Yeah, what a band.
You know, like nothing after this. I think it was that was insane. Rational Gaze and stuff. It's like
Yeah, forget it.
fucking
Like,
crazy, mate.
yeah, and just every band who came out years later in that genre, just tried to we're just essentially doing what Sugar
I mean,
trying
they
to
were
do.
like those magic eyes. You remember, like some people could
Yeah,
do those fucking weird magic eyes.
yeah.
That's like kind of the people that could do it loved Meshuggah, and the people that never could see what was happening was like,
I
fucking,
don't
this
get
is
it.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
that's
get it.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hate this. I
Yeah,
can't see what you're seeing. I hate
yeah, fuck it.
it. Um, Rancid released and Out Come the Wolves, their third album.
Classic.
19 songs, 49 minutes. Again, very long for a punk album. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't change a single
No,
second of
same
it.
mate, same
Uh,
mate.
Um,
Absolute fucking worldies.
Punk Scar Perfection. I didn't realize the title tracks came the title of the album, sorry, came from major labels bidding to sign them.
Oh wow,
Ah,
sick. That's
makes
sick.
sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they ultimately decided they wanted to stay with Epitaph and
Yeah, but
yeah,
they
just
they would Epitaph back then were doing like great shit, weren't they? They housed quite a few legendary punk bands. I think
oh yeah.
Bad Religion were on Epitaph, and
Yeah, it's his label, isn't it?
I
Brett
don't know whether
Gurevitz. And
Converge on Epitaph at one point.
they
I
might
can't
well have
remember,
been,
but
mate.
there was a good they had a good roster of those sort of like punk bands and stuff
Oh
at
yeah,
the
absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's a great label. And Rancid was in my top 20 albums of all time. And Outcome of Wolves, just a phenomenal record. Um, so then after Kurt Cobain's suicide, Foo Fighters released their self-titled debut album. So this was written as a bit of fun. Dave Grohl obviously just needing to get something out of his system. And it became one of the start of one of rock's biggest ever bands.
I remember the hype of the like prior to this album coming out. It was like countdown. It was crazy. I remember buying. I think it was it Tower Records used to be in St Albans. Was
Our
it Tower?
price. There was two
No,
our
it was
price
the other
there, wasn't
one.
there?
What was the other one down by? It wasn't in a mobile shop. It wasn't in the Maltings. It
Oh
was
yeah, that became an R price as well. That it had
yeah,
two R
it
prices in
was
the town
there.
centre.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So I got it from there. That's where I bought it on CD. And I mean, yeah, first time I heard This Is a Call, man, it was like, oh my God, he's done it. He's only gone and fucking done it.
This was a bit like this is like adrenaline for Deftones. Like it's a
Yes.
one-off. They never sound
They
like
never
this
sound like
again.
this. No, this is aggression. This is what you would have expected from that sort of Nirvana era. But yeah, they never done it again.
It's such a well, I mean, like a color and a shape is a perfect fucking record.
That's my
They're like
favorite.
he
That's my
just
favorite. But yeah,
dropped this as a debut and then went, oh, I'll just absolutely after this show
take the
you
piss
how
now. I'm
really
gonna
yeah.
take the piss now. Yeah.
But look, this is a cool. I'll stick around. Big Me, like everything about. I love this record,
Oh,
man.
I love this record,
It
mate. It's
just takes me
sick.
back to a time and a place, man. Like
Yeah,
it's
man.
Alice in Chains released their third album and the last to feature Lane Staley, the self-titled. It's called the Tripod album. It's like
Yes, because the
lovingly
dog.
known as because of the dog, but it took me years to get into this record because it's it's nowhere near as instant as
That's
Facelift and
dirt.
Dirt,
Yeah, dirt. Yeah.
but it's a brilliant record.
It's
This
underrated, man. It's so fucking good, man.
it's a brilliant record, man. It's real dark in it, like real
This
fucking
is
dark, like
dark, 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 dark.
gripped by heroin, like and
Yeah. But I mean, that you there's out. I mean, Sludge Factory, Heaven Beside You again.
yeah,
Jesus Christ, mate.
one of the best first lines of an album ever. Like where in the darkest hole, you'd be well advised not to plan my funeral before the body dies.
Jesus
Like
Christ,
fucking
mate.
hell, that's haunting, man.
That is haunting.
Um, King for a Day, King for a Day, Fall for a Lifetime, Faith No More's fifth album, the first without Jim Martin, their most diverse, easily.
Easily.
And this is right up there with
Angel Dust.
Angel Dust as my favorite. It's a
I,
brilliant, brilliant record. This
I think of this Angel Dust, the real thing. Them three are
that
like.
triangle,
I don't think that it. Yeah, nothing's getting that. That's the triangle for me, man. I love,
yeah,
I love King for this is a fucking great
it's a
album, man.
great album, man. Dig in the Grave is one of the heaviest songs, and it's
Yes, that's
fucking
a
great,
fucking
mate.
tune, mate.
And then only a year after Dookie, Green Day returned with Insomniac, grittier, heavier, more urgent album
Yeah,
than Dookie, but still catchier than a Cold Man. This record, it's
mate.
so many great songs on this.
So good, man. Yeah, Dookie had that sort of poppy, happy feeling.
Fun
Insomniac
record,
was
yeah,
proper. Right, now you're gonna fucking headbang.
yeah, yeah. If you
Now
think
we're
we're
gonna
not a punk band, like
yeah, we're showing you what we are. We're gonna show you what we can do with these guitars, mate. And Insomniac done that, man.
chainsaw guitars, aren't they?
Mate, fucking hell, mate.
Um, we spoke about Deftones Adrenaline on the Deftones top track, so go back and check that out. Silverchair released Frog Stomp, their
I
debut
remember
album.
that, mate.
15 years
Shit.
old when they fucking recorded this.
Jesus, mate.
15, mate, and it's two times platinum selling.
This was a
That's fucking
fucking
crazy, isn't it?
this was a great album back in the well, it's a great
Fucking
album,
hell.
full stop. But we fucking came this
Yeah,
in
that's
school, man.
we were 15 as well. So we were the
Yeah.
same age as them.
And
When this came out,
they
we were the
brought
same age
this.
as them.
Yeah.
We were like, getting fucking E's in English or maths or whatever, and they were
And they're
knocking
writing
out a two times
pure
platinum.
massacre. Yeah, writing pure
Oh,
massacre. And it's like, fuck me, man.
Def, we really should have carried Nailhead on, mate. I'm telling you, like,
Oh,
what,
mate. What could have been,
what a
mate?
regret. Yeah, we
What
could have
could
been
have been,
supporting
mate?
Frog Stomp. Um, this is the album, Def. I said off air that I've dropped in one of your favorite albums.
Mate.
I do.
It's
Do you know what this is?
it's got well, have you got it? Have we got it written down on the thing?
No,
'Cause I'm
it's not
looking.
written down. I've
Oh
added this
no.
in, mate.
Oh, it's another one.
Rocket from the Crypt, Scream, Dracula, Scream came out in 1995.
Look at him.
Look, yeah,
Scream track.
Oh, look at
Mate,
that.
remember the hype of that.
yep. On a Rope was a
We were
huge
on a
MTV
rope,
smash.
on a rope, on
Got
a
me
rope,
hanging on
hanging
a
on a
rope.
rope.
Do, do, do,
Oh, mate,
do, do, do.
fat lip. Oh my God,
A
mate.
huge MTV smasher, wasn't it?
This was fucking everywhere, man.
It's like
And it,
punk with 60s like rock and roll swagger, isn't it?
yeah, he had like trumpet sax. It had fucking
Big
everything.
Quiff,
All
big Elvis Quiff.
yeah, they.
Uh-huh.
Oh, mate.
Yeah,
So
mate.
fucking good, mate. This
Rocket from
was,
the Crypt screen. I saw it. I was going through 95 albums. I was like, Jeff, I love this record, mate, in
mate,
school.
I fucking love this record. Yeah. Oh
Yeah, had
God.
to get in there. Last few albums then, lads. Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy, and The Infinite Sadness. I listened to this the other day, both albums back to back. This is a fucking masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. I mean, I picked one of the tracks that time on for our daily bangers.
Yes. What did you choose?
Uh, what did I pick? Was it? No, it wasn't Bullet with Butterfly Wings.
No,
An
no.
Ode to No One. An Ode to No One.
Yes,
That
that's
is
it.
a fucking anthem, man. Oh my. But yeah, Bullet with Butterfly Wings was all over Top of the Pops. That
Zero
was
was
the
on
zero.
MTV as
That
well.
yeah, that tonight, like Daz mentioned before,
Yeah,
they were the big singles, man.
big
To,
singles.
1979 as well was a massive single off here.
Yeah.
Um, We Only
Oh,
Come Out at Night is an amazing fucking song. Um, but yeah, I was listening to this the other day in full, and it's just incredible record.
it's something else, man.
Tonight
What a
Tonight's
band.
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful song. Yeah, what a record, man. The I listened to the deluxe edition, the remaster. Sounds like a
Sounds
million
incredible,
dollars.
innit? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, Diamond, 10 million sold.
Yeah, I'm not surprised,
fucking
mate.
hell.
That album fucking catapulted Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah,
up.
amazing. So we're going to finish off then in the world of sort of hardcore. Marauder released their classic debut album, Master Killer. That early blend of metal, hardcore that would, that's metalcore.
Yeah.
That's what metalcore was and is to me.
Yes.
Mm,
Marauder Master Killer just perfected it, didn't they?
yeah. On their first album.
How is this a debut?
I don't know.
Fucking
It
hell.
is insane, and it's probably got the best production out of all the rest of their albums as well, which is
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, it
wild.
has.
Because the rest of their
Yeah.
albums sound like fucking shit, mate.
Yeah.
Apart from the last one.
Five Deadly Venoms is, I think it was like sort of re-recorded demos and stuff, wasn't it? It's a
Yeah,
bit of an odd one, but Master Killer is just stands on its own, man.
yeah. I
Like
mean, that's it, innit? Front to back, no weak song.
Daz has got the shirt on.
Yeah, fucking hell.
You know it's good when Hatebreed cover a song on their covers album.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Life is fucking bad. What a record, man. And
unbelievable.
then to finish it off, Shelter released Mantra in 1995. Melodic hardcore, lyrically focused on Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So yeah, spiritual message in the lyrics and stuff. And the single "Here We Go" was a massive MTV2
Massive.
smasher, wasn't it?
Huge. Yeah, huge.
What a
Yeah.
song!
What a band as well. But again, they to deliver this different you could imagine them sort of talking about the sound that they want to try and get. And you'd think, how could you get this sort of Hare Krishna type sound into
Hardcore.
hardcore
Then you've
sort
got
of
these
metalcore? But they done
beautiful
it.
melodic vocals, man. Mantra's a brilliant album. Beyond Planet Earth gets a bit of a bad rep, but
I like
that's
Beyond Planet Earth. They're
one
the
of my
only two
favorite
really. Yeah, I love them. I love that album.
one of my favorite ever records, mate. Beyond Planet Earth.
Yeah,
Revision Reflection is just an
yeah.
incredible,
Well,
incredible
opens. Oh,
song.
mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you haven't heard Shelter, get on Mantra. Honestly, it's a great record. It just came out on Roadrunner as well.
yeah.
So it was being pushed to be a biggie. Um, but yeah, that concludes, lads, our journey through 1993, 94, and
What a
95.
journey that was.
Incredible,
Jesus.
incredible 3 years of music.
Oh God, that was
It is
insane.
like breathtaking, isn't it?
It is that. Like,
It's just absolutely unfathomable. Like if it wasn't documented in history,
you wouldn't believe it.
like you would just be like,
Yeah,
"You're fucking
yeah.
chatting
Like
You're
shit,
nuts.
continuations of big band discographies, new genres being made,
Yep.
like with Corn, and stuff like that.
Mm,
It's never again. It's never going to happen again.
No, no. It's a special, special time. And
Yeah,
yeah, like I said at the start, there's a playlist with each song, with a song from each album in the episode. That's in the description. So jump into that. We'll be back next episode with 96, 97, and 98, where things start to get even weirder in the world of heavy music. Let us know what you thought. Twitter at Bangers P, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Bangers and Mosh Podcast. Search it up. You will find us there. So until then, party on, dudes.